guilty of crime.
Hello, everybody. I am Jay with Guilty of Crime. Welcome back. I don't know what's playing, but how's everybody doing today? What's up? And yay, I get to cover a new case. You guys, you know I love her. I love covering cases, new cases, all cases, and I like to give a voice to those that don't have one. But this one's an interesting case. So first of all, you guys do me a favor, hit that like button. Let's get this episode into the algorithm. First of all, we only have, and I've never seen this in a really long time, we have 40 people in chat unless it's lagging. So welcome. I can almost welcome each one of you. Now it just hopped back up to 46 and it's jumping up, but I know there's snow in different places. I know the weather's funky, so let's hope we can get through this episode without any glitches. I can't believe you haven't heard of baby killer Lucy Letby. Now, I ask you, is it possible that the evil nurse is innocent? She wrote in her own diary that she's evil. In her own words, she was convicted of killing 7 different babies. She went on trial the first time, got convicted, another trial, got convicted for another one, you guys. What's up, everybody? Before I get into this episode, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys, say hello, and then I'll get into it. It's a crazy, crazy episode. It's a crazy topic. You know, what's up, baby D? How you doing? What's up, Brittany Cook, Edith? Good to see you back. Somebody just there from the UK. I've been waiting to cover this for a really long time. Kimberly Johnson thinks she's guilty. Now, there's 14 expert witnesses coming back to say they don't think so. But of course, before I get into it, before I get into the whole thing, it seems like a lot of people do know about this. Many people don't. I'm going to put a picture of her up and then I'll start talking about it so you guys know it is from the UK. Samantha says she's guilty for sure, even more charges. Well, this is going to be a controversial topic then, because this baby killer is like the angel of death. There's another angel of death here in the United States that was killing older people. There's a few of them, few nurses that were put in a predicament to take care of people, and in fact, they took their lives. Now, I can say baby killer Lucy Letby because she is, in fact, convicted of these crimes, and it's been for quite some time now. So there is no, in my opinion, allegedly, nothing about that. She's absolutely guilty on these ones, okay? Tara, my girl, welcome. How you doing, my love? Good to see you. All right. Well, you're going to know all about this case, LJ. By the time I'm done with this episode, you're probably going to know more than you even want to know. All right. Good to see you. Good to see you. Chatterbox talks a lot. How you doing? Ava Sim. You're going to all be familiar with this case. Very familiar. And you're either going to hate her or you're going to say, man, that sucks. She's been in jail for a really long time for no reason. You're going to say one of the two. So let me put a picture of this crazy lady. I mean, you know, I've known about this for a long time. I've known about this case. This is her mug shot there. This is the picture I'm going to put up. There's a lot of letters that she's written, a lot of things in her own writing that you would say there's no effing way she didn't do this. There's no way that she's not an evil nurse, a baby killer. She said it. She told them, they heard. We're going to hear it all. How do you come back and say that it's not true all these years later? So here we start. I'm going to start out and just tell you the very basics. She's a UK nurse. Now, I don't hear this being done in the US very often. Every time I watch an episode, it's from the UK. It's got a British accent. And so I'm like, we're going to bring this to the US and bring it hard. Now, she's from Chester, England. Her name's Lucy Letby. She's a former neonatal nurse at Countess Chester Hospital. So if you're from the UK, you know what I'm talking about. She's been convicted of 7 babies and taken their lives, as well as attempting to murder another 7 between June 15th and June 16th, 2015 and 2016. All right. So not only did she take the lives of 7 babies, but she also attempted to take another 7. That's a lot. That's a lot that we don't even know about. So, Lori, when you say she's an evil monster, I've been thinking that all this time as well. I see my internet flickering a little bit, which I hope doesn't lag, but it might. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you, Rosie, for putting the train on. It's pouring out here in San Jose, and a lot of people are showing me snow where they are, so I might be glitching a little bit, but still, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and get a membership if you can. Also, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Super Chat, Super Sticker, all of the above. Now, you say, Tara says, obviously nuts, but why are 14 different expert witness doctors or expert witnesses, period, saying there's no way she could have done this? I don't understand it. Not at all. Thank you so much, Rosie. I always appreciate you. I'm in San Jose, California. I'm in the Bay Area, and it's pouring out here, pouring rain. Definitely no snow. I wouldn't be where there was snow. All right. No snow for me. No snow. All right. Yeah, the more you comment, the more chance you get to be gifted. Yes, Woods Whisper, I haven't even got into it yet. All right. We just started Chester, England, neonatal nurse. All right. So here's what happened between June 2015 and June 2016. She commits the murders and attempts more while working in the Countess Hospital. Now, in the UK, Leppy's arrested and she's charged. Now, 3 years later, from the time she started in July 2018, she's arrested and charged with 22 offenses. Doesn't mean murders or homicides. Now, August 2023, you guys, I have to tell you, that's 5 years later. All right. If you're following me in the Stephen Stearns case, yes, they're neonatal, all baby, newborn, and we'll get into that as we go. You'll see. All right. They're all neonatal. So 5 years later, it takes to get to any sort of semblance in the case, right? She's found guilty in August 2023, 5 years later, on 7 counts of homicide and 7 counts of attempted. We call it murder, red rum, whatever you want to call it. So that's a lot of babies, you guys. She really is an evil nurse, in my opinion. Now, a year later, July 2024, Letby's convicted of an additional charge after a retrial. So they go and give her a whole other trial, and then she goes and gets convicted again of another baby. Now, February 2025, we jump forward to now. Experts dispute the medical evidence used to convict Letby, claiming nurse or natural causes of poor medical care were to blame. I don't see how that's possible. When I tell you how and what, that's crazy. I don't think so. So let's take a look at actually let me look at let me put that back. I'll leave it there for a second. This is the Lucy Letby case about science on trial, and these people are fighting for her to get a new trial. Now, there's so much I want to show you in this case, so we're going to get into that, but I do want to tell you so that you can kind of decide for yourself what you think as we go. Yeah, air in the lines and others. I haven't even got to that yet, Samantha. You guys are definitely like ready to go. All right, I'll tell you what the methods and evidence were. She's right. She was prosecuted, right? She was prosecuted, convicted, and then tried again of injecting air and insulin into the baby's bloodstreams. She infused air into the gastrointestinal tract. She force fed an overdose of milk or fluids, inflicting impact trauma to the babies. Now, key evidence in the case is medical records, inexplicable collapses and rapid recoveries. So she'd put them out and then bring them back. Now, text messages and social media activity coinciding with the attacks, they found from her along with letters. How does that happen? Now, staff showing Letby as the common denominator in the incidences. Now, handwritten notes containing incriminating statements were also there. In the retrial, an additional conviction following the initial trial, Letby faced a retrial for attempted homicide of a baby. They call it Baby K, in which the first jury could not reach a verdict. So she was found guilty on an additional charge of a whole new Baby K. Now, this was a premature baby, which is even worse if you could get any worse. At 25 weeks gestation, Letby deliberately dislodged the baby's breathing tube multiple times. She kept dislodging the tube so the baby wouldn't breathe, you guys. I mean, yeah, that is beyond evil. That is beyond evil. And she's convicted of it. So what? I'm here. Did something change? Yes, it did. Nobody not today. It sure did change. Baby killer Lucy Letby. Is it possible that the evil nurse is innocent? New evidence shows the flaws in the case, and you're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it. So we're going to get into the first part of it while I grab my little pupper. If you look here, people are trying to get her out. And I don't even want this to happen because as far as I'm concerned, she's as good as guilty, you guys. All right. Found guilty on 7 babies. Did she do it? Something changed in the case, and I'm going to tell you what that is. All right. So first we're going to start with this. So let's get you a nice update. And then we'll get into my man, deception detective, and the eye candy for you. So here we go. This is the up-to-date what happened.
A neonatal nurse convicted of killing 7 babies in her care. But now a panel of medical experts claim the evidence was flawed, and they believe Letby may not be guilty after all.
Well, this has been an emotional 10-month trial.
A nurse trusted with the lives of newborn babies,
making the 33-year-old the UK's worst child killer in modern times.
The crimes were almost too upsetting to contemplate. 7 babies, all in the same hospital, dead. A British nurse accused of injecting air into their blood and stomachs, overfeeding them, physically assaulting them, and poisoning them with insulin.
She weaponised her craft to inflict harm, grief, and death.
Lucy Letby was found guilty of the murder of 7 babies and the attempted murder of 7 more. She received 15 life sentences with no hope of release.
There was a deep malevolence bordering on sadism in your actions. You have coldly denied.
And it's funny to see a judge like that, right? This is 2023 in the UK. So, I mean, this is something that's a big deal. If you're a true crime junkie like myself and many other you that watch everything, like Samantha here, she tried killing a pair of twins and tricked the parents to believe she tried her best, but she also killed the sibling. That is how she got caught, was one of the parents said. It keeps happening on this lady's watch. And then the interrogation. I mean, I could deep dive this case so hard. And for those of you that haven't heard of this case, I'm very, very surprised because I've been on this for a while. You know how guilty of crime and Jay is with the victims. It's hard for me to even imagine hurting a baby. It was hard for me to have. I didn't have them myself, but it was hard for me to be able to take care of children. And my wife and I have children. And I can't believe this lady would so easily take their lives. Newborns, ones that are already having problems, just bam, done, taking their lives. This evil nurse. So you guys are going to be we can do a deep dive on this.
Any responsibility for your wrongdoing and sought to attribute some fault to others. You have no remorse.
But Letby maintained her innocence. Now, a year and a half later, an international panel of the world's foremost medical experts say they've examined the evidence and believe she was telling the truth.
We did not find any murders. In all cases, death or injury were due to natural causes or just bad medical care.
Retired Canadian neonatologist Dr. Shu Lee discovered an academic paper he co-authored had been used as evidence against Letby. He says his findings were misinterpreted and misused.
That is insane to even hear that, because I've watched so many different episodes on this. I like to deep dive these cases. I also like the interrogations, and I've watched her interrogation over and over from every which way I can, just to see if maybe I missed something's wrong. But no, nothing was wrong with any of it. Hashtag save the children. We're not even going to get to see any of the victims here. I can't show you any of the victims because they were tiny, little, defenseless, newborn babies, preemie babies, and babies that probably didn't even get a picture taken yet. Yes, welcome, Darlene Cater. Get yourself, if you're new here, I haven't seen you, welcome. Subscribe if you haven't, and hopefully you guys by the end of the episode will want to get yourself a membership. And you guys don't forget to drop the links in chat. I got all the mods here today, it looks like, so thank you. Yeah, this is the evil baby killer Lucy Letby that took the lives of at least 14 babies that we know about. All right, let's keep going. We've got a big episode today.
By the prosecution.
There was a dramatic increase in the number of deaths, but there were other causes for that, not Lucy Letby.
The evidence against Letby presented in the trial was circumstantial, but appeared damning. Doctors had raised concerns about her conduct. Sensitive medical records were found hidden under her bed. And police discovered handwritten notes reading, "I am evil. I did this. I don't deserve to live. I killed them on purpose because I'm not good enough to care for them." In court, her lawyer argued those writings were expressions of anguish, not guilt.
Lucy Letby was convicted because of the evidence, the medical evidence that was presented to the jury. That today has been demolished.
Whether the courts will agree is now the question.
Well, you heard from Dr. Shu Lee in that story, and he joins us now from Canada. Dr. Lee, in your view, is Lucy Letby innocent?
Well, I think the medical evidence that we looked at shows that there was no malfeasance. So if there's no malfeasance, then, there's no murder. If there's no murder, there's no murderer.
And I don't even know how they could say that, you guys. Back then when they did this, when they did the trial and they did the cases, there were so many of these babies that, and the circumstances you'll see add up after we get past this, that I don't even see how there's I never thought this case would even come close to having a possibility that she would be in fact innocent. In her own writing, she says things like, "I'm evil." She has records of different babies that she's thinking about taking their lives of. And as I say that, we hit 111 people in chat. So let's say a prayer for those innocent babies, ones that never got to make it into this world for very long. All right. And welcome Gen X. Good to see you. Welcome Life Artist and Grassi. Good to see you. 111. Say a prayer for those babies. And I'm sure, everywhere you go, nowadays there's so many things happening that's evil. I mean, you got to be careful. If you see something, do something. Don't even just say something, do something, because like Thomas Karras showed us in the Madeline Soto case, sometimes it takes a lot more than that. And welcome, my friend. Welcome. Thank you for becoming a member, Tara. You'll enjoy it, I promise. All right. Yeah. Other victims are left disabled, like the twin that didn't die at her hands. Yeah, there were ones that didn't actually die. You're right. There's victims that she tried to, and it didn't happen. Thank you, Synth, for gifting one guilty of crime membership. I don't understand how this guy, after 2 trials, can say this.
And how do you believe that they misinterpreted or misused your work?
So what they said was that if you have collapse and certain skin discoloration, patchy skin discoloration, that equals to air embolism. And that wasn't what I said, because patchy air embolism can occur from a variety of different causes, including hypoxia and so on. Secondly, I have since published another paper showing that if the air embolism is introduced by the venous system, in other words, you inject air into the veins, in fact, there's no discoloration.
They used this evidence to put Lucy Letby away for 15 consecutive life terms. I mean, how did they get it so wrong?
I think that the witnesses for the prosecution had never seen air embolism before. And so it's a rare condition that, even today, it's only been 117 cases ever described. And so they looked at my paper and they interpreted it wrongly. And that's why I convened this panel, because I wanted to have a panel of...
Yeah, I can't understand how they're going to use the same evidence to convict her with to get her off, especially when all of these circumstances happened when she was on the clock, and only when she was on the clock. I don't know how they're going to go back and say that. I mean, and there's detailed information, but I'm not going to just tell you. I'm going to show you next some of the flaws that may be in this case, you guys. I don't want to hear it either, and I don't want this woman to walk free either. But if she didn't do it, I wonder. I did pediatric at first, a year. We lost a child. I was done. Moved to old folks. Now, this lady lost 15 children that we can count of, and many more that didn't actually get their lives taken. So how many could one person on the clock lose? And then you go back and say they didn't do it. What's up, Deb? How you doing? Crazy. Well, I'm going to show you after this guy's done talking.
Of the best in the world. And if we all say that the evidence is wrong, then we want to put a burden back onto the judicial system to say, well, we should look at it again.
Isn't there also an argument that they didn't rely solely on your research in reaching this conviction?
That's not true, because if you did not rely on this research, then all you've got is baby who is collapsed and who has got the skin discoloration. And you cannot say this is due to air embolism. This could be due to any number of causes. So that claim is actually false.
You're obviously now weighing into this. We're talking about the deaths of multiple children. There's many families involved in this. Ooh. How certain are you about taking a position and essentially fighting on the side of Lucy Letby?
We are very certain, because what we did was we asked for the medical records and statements, all the evidence that was used during the trial. And so the 14 of us went through this evidence in great detail over the last several months. And we came to the conclusion that there was no malfeasance. In fact, for each case, we could identify the cause of death or injury that was not the same as what the prosecution had identified. And in many...
Now, maybe the prosecution are not doctors, and maybe the prosecution didn't have every little single thing right, because when they came back to the babies, yeah, some things might not have lined up when you're putting things in the tube, when you're blocking air, and when you're doing all these different types of, well, say red rums, right? I want this to get out there because I want people to see what's happening in this case. And if she gets off, she better move out of the planet, because yeah, if you don't know about this case, you're going to learn about it now. And I think as this comes to a head and people are trying to find her not guilty, yeah, people aren't going to be happy if she was to get out. I haven't even got to that yet. She wrote letters and cards to the parents. She took pictures with the babies. She smiled. She acted like she was helping people. Oh, no, don't worry. I'm going to take care of your baby. They go back out. Next thing you know, oh, sorry, they passed away at her hands. And right now it's not even alleged because this is like Scott Peterson. You know, you go back on the Scott Peterson thing and there's one little tiny thing that they're hoping and grasping at straws for. So in my opinion, she's an evil psychopath, but I'm still going to show you what the flaws are.
Many of these cases, it was because of poor medical care. The doctors were making mistakes that caused the death or injury directly or indirectly. In other cases, it was due to natural causes.
Yeah.
So I think that we've got pretty conclusive evidence about what happened.
Dr. Shirley, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Like I said, there's a project, the Lucy Letby case. They're looking at it. It's already been retried again. But now we're going to get one of our favorite guys on the channel to break this down. And, you know who that is. You know who it is, Deception Detective. And then we're going to go over the serious stuff, the serious stuff with Dr. Grande. He just came out with a new episode as I was researching this, which breaks it down real nice for you and talks about her characteristics. But with this one, we're going to talk about the flaws. I don't know why it's not on my downloads for some reason, but I'm not going to let that stop me because I've been wanting to cover this case for quite some time. I just haven't had a chance. I have not had a break in the Soto case and a few other cases, the Naziah Harris case. I have not had a break on any of those cases in order to bring you guys a new case. So Lucy Letby, evil nurse, angel of death is what I've always called her because I've sucked up all knowledge that I can on this case, even if it's because they didn't have like cameras in the courtroom. So any article I can read, anything I can get a hold of, I do. So that's why I'm very excited to be presenting this to you today so that you guys can not only know who this is, but what's happening. I mean, when you see that picture of her smiling, holding a baby, and then knowing 5 minutes later she goes into the room and puts stuff in their feeding tubes that would take their lives, that's unbelievable. You've got to be, she's not angel death, she's just death. Right. But nurses are always called angels, and people look to them to help with the baby's care and to take really good care of them. And that's what they did. And she lied to their face. So welcome, Sadie's mama. Good to see you, Ashley, my girl. Welcome. Yeah, not all angels are good. Again, things are not always as they appear, as you all know. Right? All right, let's get into this. My guy, Deception Detective.
Key information isn't shared, people start to speculate. That's human nature. And this case is a perfect example. All the experts agree Lucy Letby is a serial killer, but could they be wrong? Let's watch an interview with the prosecution's key witness to find out.
There was no single piece of evidence that showed directly that Letby was guilty. There was, though, instead, significant circumstantial evidence that pointed the finger at her. Dr. Dewey Evans is a retired consultant paediatrician. He was one of the 2 paediatric specialists brought in by the prosecution. Thank you very much for your time. Just your initial reaction to the sentencing. You were an instrumental part of this case. Do you think that justice has been served? I'll just check we're okay with the camera. Dewey, can you hear me?
Sorry about that. Somebody tried to call me on my phone.
Not at
let's
all.
start again.
I'm imagining lots of people want to be in touch with you. Just, do you feel as though justice has been served?
Yes, I do. I think this is horrific. It's probably the single most appalling event affecting any hospital in the NHS over the past 75 years. It is beyond belief.
Beyond belief is right. The odds of a serial killer murdering babies, rather than it being an accident or error, are extraordinarily low. Low odds don't mean a theory is impossible, but they do mean that experts should require extraordinary proof before accepting it.
What happened to these babies, and it is beyond belief why she got away with it for such a long time. Everyone who had a duty of care to these babies failed the baby.
All right, you don't have much to catch up on, Tita. This is the Lucy Letby, the angel of death, the evil nurse. She was convicted of taking 7 children's lives and then 7 babies' lives, and then attempting to take another 7. They retried her, and then they convicted her of only 1, but she got 15 life sentences. Now we're back February 2025, and experts are disputing the medical evidence that convicted Lucy Letby and claiming that that exact evidence that convicted her may be the evidence that gets her off. So you're not behind. I just caught you up. Let's go.
Babies and failed their families. I think my profession was a bit on the slow side to pick things up, but the responsibility most of all rests with NHS managers at Chester who failed to listen to the consultants despite their concerns after 3 months following the first event. Yeah.
Why do you think the profession was slow to pick it up?
The last thing you expect of your staff, that they're harming babies, they're harming their patients. So therefore, that was the main problem. The other problem is that managers have taken over far too much control over the care of patients. And as a result of that, doctors are loath to raise concerns because they're used to being ignored or dismissed, or even being told, as in this case, told to apologize to the perpetrator of this horrendous crime, which is what happened prior to Chester Police and myself becoming involved in 2017.
We know you were giving evidence for the prosecution. Can you we've got plenty of time, so how did you first become involved in the case, and why did you decide to say, actually, yes, this is something I'm going to be able to have an impact on?
I've been involved with medical legal work for over 30 years, and I've dealt with a number of cases alleging clinical negligence, not deliberate harm, involving babies over this time throughout the whole of it.
Yeah, it's interesting because so many times she would turn to the parents and say, I'm going to take care of them, and now they're no longer alive, and they're apologizing to her, talking to her, the medical staff. I'm so sorry this happened. I'm so sorry. As she goes home and writes in her books, each one of these documents them, talks in her own head about them. And I don't know how they're disputing it. I don't know how in that short amount of time, every time she was on staff, the babies' lives were taken. It just doesn't make sense, but that's why we're going to get into it today. And like I said, we can't go back and look at the court. We only see drawings. It's kind of like the Lori Vallow case where you just see a bunch of weird drawings. So I'm so glad to be covering this case today for all of those babies that nobody's ever going to know. They call them baby K, baby J, baby S. We don't even know who they are. And some of the parents came out. So there's parents that we know of, but this was many, many years ago now. This is 10 years ago.
England and Ireland. So I was quite experienced. And since 2013, I've been involved with a couple of dozen cases for police authorities by the National Crime Agency. So my name was well known to them. And I thought this was a case that I was suited to.
Do some experts lie for money? Of course, but the vast majority are honest professionals trying to stay objective. The problem is none of us are, even if we want to be. Plenty of studies show that experts, even doctors, unconsciously shift their opinions to favor the side that hired them. Maybe they lean towards their employer on a 50-50 judgment call, or they overlook an inconvenient alternative explanation. Bias is tricky because it's often invisible, even to ourselves. Take Dr. Evans. I believe he thinks he's correct, and maybe he is. How has his past work with law enforcement, or his desire to maintain that relationship, shaped his opinion? We don't know, and he might not either. And even if Dr. Evans somehow managed to avoid all human bias, his conclusions are only as strong as the data he used. So what data was that?
I had the clinical experience because I've been involved with care of babies from my mid-20s throughout my professional career. And in addition, I was familiar with the medical legal system. So I thought this was my kind of case.
So when you started looking at what evidence there was being presented, what kind of conclusions were you coming to and how quickly did you come to them?
Right. I got involved in May 2017. And what I told
a happy birthday to Foxy Amazon. Everybody, throw a happy birthday in the chat for our girl Foxy Amazon. Happy 420, happy birthday, and we're glad you're having a wonderful day. Ashley, you're welcome. And yes, we need to be an advocate for all children, and especially these innocent babies that can't say anything, and the parents that some that didn't even know until this crazy spike in deaths happened in the hospital all around the time where she was on staff. Again, happy birthday to you, Foxy Amazon. Hello, Kathy. Welcome. I hope you've heard about this case. Welcome, Desiree. Thank you for becoming a member. I think again, that's okay. Happy birthday today. Happy birthday tomorrow. It's all good. My birthday, I do birthday month.
Colchester Police was that if they suspected anyone, I did not want to know about this. In other words, I wanted to investigate the cause of the collapse or the cause of the death of these babies. I was not there to investigate the crime. And at that time, I was unaware of the name of Lucy Letby or anyone else. So I received a copy of the clinical notes of over 30 babies who either died or had collapsed during between January 2015 and July 2016. And I looked at all of them. Some of these cases, you could understand why the babies that died. They died from the usual problems of small babies, a hemorrhage, infection, some congenital problem, for instance. But I identified 15 babies whose collapse or death I could not explain as a natural cause. And in addition to that, their collapse not only was unexpected, but I felt that it was due to a condition we call air embolus. It was as if someone had injected air into their circulation directly.
You think?
Other babies collapsed as a result, in my opinion, of someone injecting loads and loads of milk or milk and air directly into the stomach. And if you give loads and loads of milk into the stomach of a small baby, it interferes with their breathing because the diaphragm can't move up and down, and therefore they collapse. Other babies suffer direct trauma. They are found with blood around their mouth or blood at the back of the throat. So all of these babies,
so sad,
collapse could not be explained at all, other than someone had caused harm to them.
How many unexplained deaths were there before Lucy's employment? How many after? How common are embolisms, milk asphyxias, trauma? We don't know. Even the exceptional moderators and members of the DD Forum are only able to turn up partial sets. Like Dr. Evans himself, the only cases he analyzed were picked by the prosecution. And if you're only looking at 30 deaths that occurred during Lucy Letby's employment, guess what they're all going to have in common? Lucy Letby. Does the fact that the experts and the data were cherry-picked prove that Lucy Letby is innocent? Of course not. But when you combine cherry-picked data with cherry-picked experts without offering full sets for independent third-party analysis, it raises red flags. At the very least, it diminishes faith in the verdict. As I've said many times on the channel, omissions are the mothers of conspiracy theories.
Later, in 2018, I found two more cases. These were the second of twins, two separate lots of twins, who had low blood glucose values. Now, low blood glucose or low blood sugar is common in small babies, but a very astute medical officer in Chester had measured these babies' insulin level. And the insulin level was very, very high, which could not be explained on the basis of their producing their own insulin. So in addition to the other items of trauma, we now had two babies who had insulin injected into their systems. So this was an additional concern and not something that anyone had suspected initially. In fact, I owe it to Chester Police for being obsessive and methodical in their investigation, because I only saw the insulin poisoning cases because they were the second of twins who'd been harmed in other ways. And so this was a complete shock to me and a complete surprise.
Yeah, meander your way on over here as this doctor meanders. You know me, I'm like, oh, drag it out. That's why I've been waiting to cover this case in the United States. I got my flag back there behind me. America, baby, America. And don't let things get you down the way they are right now. Lots of people are in fear with the new president in place and all the things going on. We're all good. We're here. We have our health. More skanky empanadas. I say yes. We're going to listen to a little bit of her interrogation afterwards because I want you to see how she talks. And like that picture that we see of her right there smiling, and then right next to that, looking like she does, it's almost like her real face came out after they walked up to her door and arrested her. She went from to like we can see the real her. So in my opinion, I don't know. I don't know about her being innocent. There's a lot of things that stack up. There's a lot of evidence that says that she is. More deception detective. You've got it.
Yeah.
But it was quite important actually, because at last one could find some kind of smoking gun. In other words, one could now show that someone was causing harm to babies. Whereas with injection of air, unless someone sees you doing it, then you can't prove that anything. It would have been difficult to prove, that these babies were placed in harm's way.
Yeah, it was your job, I guess, to explain what had happened to these babies, not by who, of course. That was then the job of the other parts of the prosecution.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, yes. And I should add that what I did was I sent the reports to Chester Police and said, look, we've got these 15, and then it became 17 cases, where I'm concerned about what's happened. And what I said was, you need to look at the duty roster for each of these events, because if you harm a small baby, that baby will deteriorate very quickly. It will deteriorate within seconds or minutes. So therefore, what you need to do is look at the duty rosters and find out which nurses and which doctors were on duty at that time. And it soon became apparent that there was, even after the first 4 babies, there was only one nurse who was on duty for all of the events. And
Yeah, this is a deep dive case, you guys. This isn't like a one episode. There's so many things I want to show you. After this, I'm going to show you the body cam of her arrest. I'm going to show you some of her interrogation. I'm going to show you a clip of her out with her friends. She's got videos of her friends talking to police. Like Bree said, she took the life of a baby and she gave the family a sympathy card after with a long handwritten message, but made sure to take a picture of the card before she gave it to him. So she had a bunch of trophies when they arrested her in her room, lots of letters, lots of notes, lots of dates. She documented all this stuff. This is like Dexter. Did anyone watch Dexter? The serial killer, the vigilante serial killer, Dexter. He takes someone's life in the name of justice, but he loves doing it and he documents it with a little thing of blood. That's what she did, in my opinion, right? Again, she's convicted, so I can say anything I want about this baby killer. Laura Dad says, I'm from the UK and all this happening is so sad and heartbreaking for the babies and the families. In my opinion, she's guilty. Keep her in prison, lowest of low. And I agree. The lowest of low, taking the lives of old people in an old folks' home that can't take care of themselves. And then after that, babies, 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 you guys. And if you're watching Dexter, the new season's out. Go watch it. It's fantastic. New Dexter season is amazing. Love that show. That show didn't come out for like 10 years and then it came back out again. So Kathy says it's the first I've heard about this case. I don't know how, because there's one other angel of death in the United States that we know about that went around taking the life of his patients. And here's the second biggest one, Lucy Letby, the angel of death of babies in the neonatal part of the hospital, neonatal, whatever you want to call that. Neonatal. All right.
That was Lucy Letby, and later it emerged that she was on duty for all 17 occasions when one or other of these babies collapsed and or died.
It wasn't my job to solve the crime, just to explain it. Dr. Evans says this a lot, but my issue is it assumes that a crime happened at all. And when you're primed to find a crime, you're going to find one. For example, the babies were also in the same hospital around the same time with the same medicines, equipment, air, food, water. So Lucy isn't actually the only common denominator between all the deaths Dr. Evans analyzed. Although, frankly, I think that one was a foregone conclusion. I doubt the police included any deaths that didn't happen on her shift. Without full transparency into the data, his opinions, unfortunately, don't mean much because there's no context and there's no challenge from impartial third parties who weren't primed that way by the police or who aren't susceptible to a bias of wanting to please the people who recruited them to help lock up an evil serial killer. For example, when I polled my audience on X, what's the expected number of annual deaths in a British neonatal unit? The responses were all over the chart, from 1 to 1,000. Is 17 deaths in 18 months a lot? Is it a little? Is this just a number that rises along with the population? And it's a great illustration of why I think the British public isn't all on board with the Lucy Letby guilty verdict.
We've talked already on this programme and will continue to do so about what processes were in place at the hospital, which meant maybe the alarm could have been raised far sooner.
There you go. That's perfect. Angie and everybody else, if you like the way that I present true crime and I bring you eye candy, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notifications bell for all notifications, and get yourself a membership. We want to see everybody in chat green. Especially so when we have small chats like this. We have 141 people in chat, and I love it because they get to interact with you guys and let you know as you come in what catch you up, what we're talking about, etc. And we get to cover new cases, ones that people haven't heard of, and get the word out for everybody, not just Madeline Soto, not just Nasiah Harris, not just the people that you hear all the time, but everybody, right? We want to cover everybody. So thank you. Absolutely. Thank you, Desiree. Appreciate you. All right. Yeah. If you like the eye candy, whatever eye candy you want to look at, this guy over here, whatever floats your boat. All right.
In terms of what you were looking at and investigating, do you think that the methods that she used to abuse or kill these babies were sophisticated enough that it meant it was quite difficult to identify what it was that meant these children had died?
Oh, she was an extremely clever criminal. She almost got away with it, and they may well deny it, but for the consultants actually pressing and demanding that the police got in.
You know what? If she would have went to another hospital or she would have came to the US and she wouldn't have concentrated so heavily in one area, she might have gotten away with it. Lots of people that do things like that will move around, take trophies, and you might never know that they did that. Or you might never know the number that they did that. Synth, Jay and her wild hair is out. Our true crime candy. Well, thank you, Synth. I appreciate you. Yeah, my wild hair, right? It looks like this. And we're going to say stinky stirs. We got looks like a skunk. I'll put it to that. Thank you. Appreciate you. All right, let's keep going.
Involved. I think she could well have got away with this because I'm sorry to say this, but it's no surprise to me, although it's shocking to everyone else. The default position of NHS managers when things go wrong is the cover-up. And I think they tried quite hard to cover up her criminal activities. And I'm glad that they failed to get away with that.
Yeah, well, obviously the hospital aren't here to defend themselves. There is a statement from the hospital which we can bring out. I just want to play you actually the statement from the police, which is suggesting that, because we know that there are going to be many other cases now examined by police to make sure that more didn't come to harm. Let's just have a quick listen.
She was very clinical and without remorse or empathy or thought process around what it was. And she continued to do exactly, how she'd gone through. She went through each case clinically. We would be foolish if we were to think that we have gathered all cases that Lucy Letby could have touched in one go. We're committed to doing over.
There could have been 30, 40, 50 victims. You guys have no idea, and neither do I. These are just the ones that they started catching on to. You can't really go back and do the thorough research that you want when you don't know about it, number one. And number two, babies and what she documented, what she didn't document. She was documenting this stuff. They had to go back and dig up what happened, but she was documenting the deaths herself. So she's not going to sit there and put down, oh yeah, this is what I did. Hey guys, now I'm going to go home and write it. Kimberly Johnson, I agree with Kevorkian. Thoughts behind his service. They have, we don't say that word, but yes, unaliving pods in their countries. Welcome, Nikki. How you doing? All right.
Overarching investigation looking at every single baby's admission into neonatal unit for the entire footprint that Lucy Letby's been employed.
They're trying to
which is over 4,000 babies across both the Liverpool Women's Hospital and the Countess of Chester. I'm not saying that there are collapses and deaths subject of the investigation, but there are babies that have died within the hospitals that we are within that period having reviewed. There are some cases that have been initially highlighted to us at the moment as concerning from an independent review, and then those parents have been informed about where we are with that investigation and are being supported.
If you're only looking at deaths that occurred during Lucy Letby's tenure, guess what they're all going to have in common? These are basic statistical mistakes, survivor bias, cherry picking. It's why courts have transparency, in the US at least.
Just listening to that, because of how sophisticated her methodology was, how hard is it going to be to actually, in any case that is even remotely suspicious, identify whether an investigation is going to be needed?
Well, the investigation is ongoing. I'm not involved with the subsequent investigation. I've drawn a line under my medical legal practice following this case. I've been involved with pediatrics for 50 years, so I think it's time to...
We're just getting into the details, Lisa, but the same people that convicted her with the same evidence of the things that she did and the crime she committed, they're now saying it actually wasn't that. So if they go back and say she was force feeding an overdose of milk or fluids, infusing air on their gastrointestinal tract, injecting air and insulin into their bloodstream, they're now saying that they didn't get it right. That's what they're doing. I don't know how, but we'll get it. We'll listen to it and we'll get more into it. All right.
Who collapsed unexpectedly. And this is back in November 2017 when I filed my first report. I thought, oh my God, this baby has collapsed as a result of a circulation of air injected directly into the veins.
It's all
and
pretty
that was baby A in this trial, and his twin suffered the same fate, although the twin survived. And really, it's a matter of excluding the usual cause of collapse in babies, such as infection or hemorrhage or some kind of peculiar congenital problem. One could easily exclude those. But in addition to this, one also found, in addition to this, the only explanation was the injection of air into the circulation. And then, having prepared my preliminary report on the first few babies...
That's why we're here, girl.
More evidence came of some peculiar discoloration that these babies had suffered, which has been associated with air embolus in other cases. And this reinforced...
Yeah, this is all new information, you guys. We're talking about baby killer Lucy Letby. Is it possible that this evil nurse is innocent? Now, she called herself evil. She documented what she did. She documented everything. She wrote letters. She wrote letters to the parents. She took notes. She did that, not somebody else. And there was a spike in the time from when she started and when she left. So how do you get that wrong? Welcome, Misty. Welcome, everybody that's coming into chat. Yeah, they're re-looking at this case. This is all new information. You're welcome so much, Laura. I appreciate you. All right, let's keep going.
My initial opinion, and of course, reinforced the diagnosis.
If an air embolism is the only explanation for these deaths, that's a smoking gun. But that hasn't been definitively stated, which makes me question if it's actually the case. The problem here is the same as we saw in the Nicola Bulley case and many other British cases we've analyzed on the channel.
Yes, I love
Even if the experts are right, the lack of transparency and accountability to the public and impartial third-party testers who could challenge their opinions doesn't build trust in the outcome.
Thank you.
When key information isn't shared, people start to speculate. That's human nature. And this case is a perfect example. And I'm sure that's why so many of my wonderful members voted for me to cover Lucy Letby, even though the courts, doctors, statisticians, and other experts have declared her guilt. People want clarity and understanding, not blind assurances. And so far, we haven't had that here. When
Yes, Lucy Letby is equivalent to Nurse Ratched. If you guys haven't watched that, go watch it. I believe it's on Hulu. It's great. And you know, for such a young dude, Wyatt is very, very, very smart. I don't know where your comment just went, but you're absolutely right. They call nurses that take people's lives an angel of death. So this isn't a special name for Lucy Letby. An angel of death is a person, and when you talk about them as if they were a serial killer or a family annihilator, those are the categories they get put into. They're actually designed to be the first person on the scene. The rush is being a hero. There's a rush to them. They get this adrenaline out of taking somebody's life and then being there to act like they're trying to save it. Otherwise, it's just a serial killer. Donald Harvey and Michael Swango were just serial killers. You're so smart, Wyatt. Thank you for being here. I always appreciate you and all of your talk. You're absolutely right. Thank you so much, Life Artist, for gifting a Guilty of Crime membership. Thank you. Yes, Nurse Ratched. Go watch that. It's really good. I love that actress. All right.
When I hit play, Dr. Evans is going to express his certainty about Lucy's guilt.
All right.
And I'll explain
Listen
why
up, 'cause-
counterintuitively that doesn't reassure me.
The diagnosis of milk being injected into the into the stomach was far easier. Baby G was a baby who was on 45 ml of milk every 3 hours, which is not a large volume of milk. And when the nurse looking after this baby went for her break, Lucy Letby came in and must have given this poor baby a huge amount of milk, all milk and air, down a syringe. This led to the stomach blowing up, becoming enlarged. This interfered with the breathing and the baby collapsed. And the baby vomited across the whole of the nursery. And as well as vomiting all over the nursery, the nurse still aspirated 45 mLs from the stomach. So you can't vomit all over a nursery when you've only been fed 45 mLs and there is still...
I mean, this makes me want to jump through this screen and just grab her, right? And just do the worst things to this Lucy Letby lady. Like, it makes me really angry to hear that. I can't comprehend it. I can't understand it one little bit. You guys, I have the best baby pictures of Reese when she was just first born. Like, first came out, she was a C-section baby and they pulled her right out. I went along with the nurse, put her down, they cleaned her off, and she held my finger. I have a picture of her little body. She was still all like white, covered in junk, and holding my hand. Oh my God, just the best experience to have a baby being born and depending on you. And then right after the nurse did that, she went and peed all over the table. And I got to change my first diaper ever, which was my daughter, Reese. Now, remember, Christian, I didn't get my son until he was 5 years old. So I never had babies around. I had Christian, and then he turned 15, and I had Reese, and now Reese is 10. So I just adore little tiny babies. I can't wait until my son has children and I get to be a grandma and change little helpless babies' diaper and watch them. I love the way they smell. How can you do this to a little angel? I just can't understand it unless you're the devil, unless you're evil. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And like I said, those are my proudest moments and proudest that make me the most happy when I look at those pictures of me with Reese right when she was born, so little and tiny. I just doesn't make any sense to me. The pain is beautiful having a baby. Yeah. I didn't have, my wife had both of them via a C-section, and she's a boss. She had my daughter. We went in at 8:30 a.m. We were done by 9. All right. Yeah, exactly. Very adorable. I love it. That's my proud mama moments, you guys. Welcome, Rosie. How you doing? Lucy Letby. Do you think she did it?
45 ml still left there, but it was clear that this baby had been injected with milk, all milk and air, and that was that occurred in other babies as well. And some babies suffered having milk or milk and air injected into the stomach, as well as being killed by an injection of air into the venous circulation.
Yeah.
If you just joined us, I appreciate we are talking about some extremely distressing details. The case of Lucy Letby, the nurse who's been found guilty of murdering 7 babies, attempting to murder 6 babies. Joining us on the programme is Dr. Dewey Evans, who was giving evidence for the prosecution, medical evidence. The final thing I want to ask you, Dewey, is just when you were looking at the information presented to you and in how you were compiling your reports, you're speaking with real conviction about what you believe was the cause of death in these babies. Was there moments where you thought, is this cast iron? Any moments of doubt for you?
I think you need to keep it simple if you're a clinician. And I couldn't think of another cause, quite frankly. I was aware that the police, because the police were involved, that some criminal activity was suspected, obviously. And I had to block that thought out, which is why I told the police not to name any suspect, even if they had a suspect. And so, to use the jargon, I approached it in a very clinical way. I only had access to the notes. The notes were electronic copies prepared by Chester NHS and given to the police. Many of the notes were organised disgracefully, not in date order. Things were upside down. I had to print out a lot of them simply to make sense out of them. So that both the police and I had to put up with shabby support from NHS management.
July.
Each case, I looked at each case individually, and I think for certainly the 7 murder convictions and the convictions for attempted murder, each case, in my opinion, was a standalone case. In other words, if it was the only case, I think there was sufficient to explore and investigate it from a criminal point of view and possibly charge someone. Although if there were only 1 or 2 cases, of course, it would be more difficult to prove who was responsible for the assault.
Yeah, and the jury did convict her of murdering 7 babies and attempting to murder 6
Now we're
others.
back.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Dewey Evans.
Without a video or a confession, there should be doubt. What if it was another colleague who worked the same shifts, or a doctor who framed her? I'm not saying these scenarios are likely, but they're at least as plausible as a serial killer, especially one who's so meticulous that some of her crimes leave no trace at all, while others leave babies spewing milk across the room. With the information I have right now, if I had to bet on Lucy Letby's guilt, I would bet on the statistically obvious one, which is that if there's a bunch of weird things happening, the statistics say that each one has its own separate cause. If you want to continue the series, let's get this video to 50,000 views.
Yeah, we should continue this, DD, because we're not on the same page here. All right, let's watch this. This is probably going to be a deeper dive since a lot of you don't know about this at all. So very interesting seeing this. We're going to take a look at this real quick. It's only a minute and a half. We're going to see her get arrested, her behavior and the things that they found and the evidence they presented. It's just too much for me for it not to be her. So it's so crazy. And I'm glad that they're bringing it back out and that a lot of people are starting to recognize it in the US because we need to understand that she might get out.
Oh, Lucy, is it? Yeah. Hello, my name's Chester, please. Okay, Stefan.
There she is, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, yeah? What happened? Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah. Let me in the back seat over here. Hold on, man. Yeah. Okay, just take a seat in there for me, Lucy. I'll move that seat.
I know they have better ones.
Just had knee surgery. Oh, right, okay.
Oh, she just had knee surgery. Put her back real nice, you guys. Again, there's so much more information. Shocking if she gets out. Yeah, I can't even believe they're revisiting this case with that many deaths and that amount of time at that hospital. It's unbelievable.
Oh, Lucy, is it? Yeah. Hello, my name's Chester, please. Okay, Stefan, 2 seconds.
Look at her smiling and then she stops.
Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah, her face drops quite a bit, right? It's just like, wait, what? No, watch my knee.
put you in the back seat over here.
Hold on, man.
Yes. Okay, just take a seat in there for me, Lucy. I'll move that seat forward a bit.
Yeah, I've just had knee surgery.
Oh, right, okay.
She just had knee surgery, guys. Don't put her in the box seat like that. Be nice. Be nice. All right, I'm going to show you a little quick clip, and then we're going to watch a little bit of her interrogation. This one's a newly released video where we can see her claiming something, and then I'll show you.
They told me that there would be a lot more deaths.
You might have to read it.
Did you have any concerns that there was a rise in the mortality rate? Yes. Okay, so tell me about
You might have to read it. It's hard to hear.
I think we don't just notice as a team in general, the nursing staff, that this
13
was
hours after arrest,
previous years.
she's being questioned.
They told me that there would be a lot more deaths and that I've been linked to somebody that was there for a lot of them. Did you have any concerns that there was a rise in the mortality rate?
No. Oh, you did, but weren't you the one that did it? Hold on.
I think we don't just notice as a team in general, the nursing staff.
She's talking so low. All right, 1 second. How they got her? We're gonna watch this for a minute because it might be helpful. Oh, this I wanted you to see this. Lucy Letby out in the wild.
The night of terror.
Freaking weirdo.
Lucy Letby was arrested 3 times. First in July 2018, more than 2 years after the final baby.
All right, before we do that, we're going to get into how the police caught her because I want you guys to see that. I didn't realize a lot of you didn't know much about this case, and it kind of sucks going into what they're trying to get her off for rather than no. What are you talking about, girl? No, not drunk. Who's drunk? I don't drink, my love. All right. No, I just realized a lot of people don't know about this case. And so I don't want to keep continuing to talk about the evidence that they're trying to overturn this with rather than what she did. All right. Yeah. Night of terror. Night of terror. Right. That was her. They used that in the evidence, by the way, in court. Yeah, I agree. She's a serial killer. I think a lot of people don't, because it was 10 years ago and they're looking at it from a different perspective. They're thinking something else, but I don't feel that way.
It's the case nobody wanted to believe could be true. But for the police, convicting Lucy Letby was the culmination
of
a painstaking and distressing investigation.
The key aspect of this investigation has been always asking ourselves, who else could it be if not her, and what else could it be?
Lucy Letby started working at the Countess of Chester Hospital in January 2012, just before her 22nd birthday.
Yeah, this is going to give you a great overview of what happened, when it happened, and how the heck she got convicted of it. That way we can move into the psychology of it and the experts and what they think, because Deception Detective kind of focused on one singular interview. I hope that he does another episode. I hope that we get to that 50,000. And yeah, definitely Lucy was drunk and she was out at a night at the bar. I guess I didn't tell you that because it just rolled on. I can't read your guys' chat when I was doing that. That's why. Yeah, worst child killer in the UK, sick to the core. All right, buckle up, guys. We're going to do this, and then we're going to have another episode of this because, yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to finish it all today. Welcome, Carrie.
She joined as a nurse in the neonatal unit. But from January 2015, the mortality rate at the unit began to rise above what might be considered normal rates.
Right.
On June the 8th, a baby boy, child A, died. He and his twin sister were being cared for in Nursery 1, the room for the most poorly patients. At 8 o'clock, Lucy Letby was half an hour into her night shift. She was the designated nurse for the baby boy that night. 26 minutes later, Letby called a doctor over to child A's incubator. He was deteriorating rapidly. Staff began resuscitation, and an on-call consultant responded to the emergency. The baby died just before 9 o'clock, less than 90 minutes into Letby's shift. Air had been injected into his bloodstream.
It was unexpected and unexplained are two words they don't deal.
And if she didn't do it, you guys, and it was just her making a mistake, she still has to be liable for this. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I do think some of the babies suffered greatly. Absolutely. That was the joy, in my opinion, that she got out of it, was watching them suffer. And some of them she would watch suffer and then bring them back, you guys. So yeah, absolutely. It's heartbreaking.
Deal with in neonatal medicine. If a child collapses, it's usually explainable.
Valentine's Day.
And it's usually always expected.
Then on the 5th of August, another baby, child F, was in nursery 2. Letby was looking after another infant in the same room, but at 1:54 in the morning, child F suffered an unexpected drop in his blood sugar and a surge in his heart rate. The baby survived, and a blood test revealed he'd been given insulin that he didn't need. There was no reason why. No baby on the unit was being prescribed it. It was kept in a locked fridge next to the nurse.
Are you looking at these times and dates? It's back to back to back. This was between June 2015 and June 2016. This is in a 12-month period, back to back. I don't even know why they're wasting their time on this. She still needs to be held accountable. Let's say she was making mistakes, which I highly doubt. Unbelievable. I'm convinced she did it. She needs to be locked up forever, but I still want you guys to know about the case. Ashley, thank you so much for the $9.99 super sticker, and welcome everybody coming in. Happy Valentine's Day if you're a day ahead in another country. And thank you, Rosie. Thank you just for being you. You're so loved. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. Back at you, girl. Appreciate you all. All right, let's keep going. Just back to back to back to back.
Nurse's station. That summer of 2015 was when colleagues became suspicious.
They were told it was very unlikely there was anything going on and were urged not to make a fuss.
Dr. Ravi Jairam was one of those doctors who spoke out.
He
said
grab her.
he'd become extremely uncomfortable with Lucy Letby working on the unit.
And this pattern continued as there were more babies who lost their lives or suffered unexpected collapses.
At least 15.
On the 23rd of June 2016, Letby was looking after child O, a triplet. The baby boy became unwell. Another nurse suggested the child be moved back to nursery 1, where the most poorly babies are cared for.
Again.
But Letby disagreed, and the baby collapsed. He recovered, but suffered 2 further collapses, and at 5:47, the baby was pronounced dead. Consultant Dr. Breary believed the baby should have responded better to resuscitation. Child O was found to have an injury to his liver and air injected into his bloodstream.
Yeah, that sucks too. Again, we're never going to know who the babies are. We hear a bit about the parents, but child O, child S, child K, those babies didn't even have a chance. And she's just back to back in these. You're never, ever going to convince me. And I'm going to cover this until they say, okay, I think she did it, or she deserves to be held accountable forever, right? She got 15 life sentences. How are they going to go back from that? Absolutely disgusting.
The following day, child O's brother, child P, another of the triplets, died under Lucy Letby's care.
She has a
It prompted Dr. Breary to say that he wasn't happy with Lucy Letby working on the unit, but he was told there was no evidence against her and that she would continue nursing.
But Letby's suspicious colleagues were right. She'd been attacking babies here for the past 12 months.
See?
Over the next few months, the hospital carried out a review as to what was happening inside the neonatal unit. Lucy Letby was then moved to an administrative role.
Good.
In
Best
November
decision.
2016, an external report found no definitive explanation for the high number of deaths.
Yes.
But in May the following year, the hospital called in the police.
The initial
Oh.
focus was around a hypothesis of, what could have occurred. So a generic hypothesis of it could be natural occurring deaths,
No
it
reason.
could be
A
natural
rush.
occurring collapses, it could be an organic reason, it could be a virus.
Whoa.
And then one of the hypotheses was that it could be inflicted harm.
The more experts they talked to, the more evidence they gathered, the more the case started to take shape.
Yeah, I want to punch her in
Then,
the face.
on
when
the
I
3rd
see
of July 2018, Lucy Letby was arrested.
Good.
What was clear at that point was
Mister.
that Lucy Letby was the
Forever.
consistent in all this. She was the thread running through them all.
You think?
And therefore, in evidential terms, the biggest source of evidence.
Searches of her home in Chester.
All right, this is going to give you more information on why she got convicted, because now all the things that are coming out, all the news sources, even Deception Detective was saying he sees a common thread, but that's all he sees. So that, to me, I've been following this case for so long. There's no coincidences, number one. Number two, if she did it accidentally, she's still accountable. Number three, it was documented. They found documented trophies, in my opinion. There's no motive, Jamila. There's no motive for serial killers. There's no motive for angels of death. They enjoy it. They enjoy the thrill, especially angels of death. Those are people that take the lives of people in a hospital setting. Of a sort, like a doctor or a caretaker. They just like to do it. They're evil. There's nothing else to it. Yeah, common denominator, Lucy Letby.
And her parents' house in Hereford uncovered patient records and handwritten notes that gave clues about her state of mind.
Look at that.
Among the scrawled notes were the words, "I am evil. I did this." In her bedroom, stuffed into these shopping bags, were hospital handover sheets. In total, 257 were found. Many included details of the babies Letby had allegedly harmed.
Yeah, dude, she's got evidence
Her
in her
social
house.
media showed searches for 11 of the families affected. Police also discovered that she sent one of her alleged victims' parents a sympathy card on the day of the baby's funeral. She kept an image of the card on her phone.
We got you, Krista.
Crucially, the police also analysed her shift patterns.
Thank
Look at the line of crosses.
Look at that.
They
Oh,
showed that
death.
Letby was the only member of staff.
Look at bam, 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 bam. I mean, the evidence is just, it's unexplainable other than her doing this. And thank you for messaging those. I will put those up after. I just want to show you not only how she wrote it, but the way she made it bold, the things she said, how messy, and it's like she had an alternate personality, you guys. I'm going to show you that next. This clip's almost over. Thank you, Graciela. Happy love day to you all, and guilty of crime. Thank you. Definitely mental. When you see the notes and you see them up close, the way she wrote it, how she spelled it out, it's like she was trying to get it. It's like a cry for help, but they didn't step in. Many people around her were telling people, it's like you say something, see something. They said something, they saw something and said something, but nobody did anything, you guys. It took them that long to start investigating this. I know, but now they're re-looking at this case and she might get let out.
On shift when all the incidents took place. On the 11th of November 2020, over 2 years after she was arrested, Lucy Letby was charged with murder and attempted murder.
Punch her in the face.
That realization of, my God, somebody has taken the life of these babies and somebody has been responsible for these life-changing injuries to these babies, and nobody could say anything. And everybody looked at each other and there was not a word spoken.
Letby always denied harming the babies in her care. but the evidence told a different, more harrowing story.
All right. Take a look at these messy notes that looks like she just scribbled everywhere. And thank you, Bree, for messaging those over. I didn't know that a lot of people hadn't seen this stuff before. I should always just assume that, right? I kind of got right into it. It's like, don't let her out. All right, let's look at this. It's very, in my opinion, when I saw these, how she had the things documented, the things she wrote. Misty Free Spirit says, I'm a spiritual person, so I'm going to say she's possessed. I'm going to say that too. I'm with you, Misty Free Spirit. I'm going to say she's possessed and she's evil. And she calls herself evil in her own notes. So she's documenting these deaths, you guys. She's documenting them. Look at that little journal she has. LD, extra, LD extra, whatever she was giving, maybe extra fluid, extra. Remember, she was giving extra liquids, extra food. She was putting things in their tubes. All right. So when you look at that, you say, what was she doing extra? And then she was writing her, oh, I need some salsa. Right. And then here, order prescription. She had her deaths documented. And then she also had her shopping list on the same page. Then you look at this. And look at it says help. She's got things circled. Like, I don't even know if I can read it. Don't do this anymore. Today is your birthday. You can't be chance at second chance at life. It's so hard to even read this. I know that they probably did that, but it's like things are scattered in her head. I want someone to help me, but never work at the point. Look at that. You see what she's writing? I mean, these are the things that they collected. It's like she was looking to get help. She was crying out for help and nobody caught her. I mean, I'm never going to be convinced otherwise. Terry Jones, thank you. Tell me you're a serial killer without telling me you're a serial killer, right? She shouldn't even get that angel of death. But she does because she was working in a hospital setting and taking care of babies. When somebody's life is in your hands, that's typically what you call them. It is really hard to read, but some of the main points what she was saying is help. I want to get caught. I want somebody to know about it. She's literally screaming out in these little notes and documenting the deaths, you guys. This was evidence in the case. I mean, it's like in her head is just spitting out stuff. She says love on one thing, and then they blurt out some of the things because she's got people's names in there. I can't do this anymore. Okay, if that doesn't convince you guys, I mean, she's writing that on her thing. She's talking about help me, help. I can't do this anymore. I mean, it's all over this, you guys. She's got a name. She's documenting what she did. She's saying, don't deserve. I think you know that. I mean, if we were to sit there and translate these, which I'm sure I could, I can come back and do it. This was all presented in the case. It's like weird shit is in this lady's head and she's just writing it down. This one jumps out, right? It says hate. And then this one I can probably read more than anything. I can't breathe. Something about forces every day. Overwhelming fear. I prove all have children of many. Slander, discrimination, getting too much of everything. My life, everyone fed very. It's just like random ass thoughts. She says, I hate myself so much for what this has. And then here it says panic, fear, lost. Why me? I did this. Why me? Look at, I did this. Why me? I killed them right here. I killed them. I'm not good. This is just, there it is, guys. I'm evil. I did this. If you don't use that as evidence, I don't know what is evidence. Panic, fear, lost, hate. Something's wrong with this lady. Yeah, she's like possessed and she's doing it. I'm evil. I did this in her own writing and documenting. They found all this shit, you guys. All right, let's take a look at. I mean, her personality is scary to me. It's scary because she looks like a little like nice little nurse, little happy nice nurse, and she's got this little diaries all cute and stuff, and then next to it she's got this weird thing that screams out, "I'm evil, I did this," and hate and panic and fear. And then here are the notes to the parents after the children that she took their lives of. She would give that, you guys. You say she's definitely evil. She even knows she's evil. There you go. There's a card saying, "Sorry, your child's dead," even though she's the one that did it. I mean, what is that? What do you even classify a person like that? Look at the notebook. She's a nut. I couldn't have said that any better. She's a nut. You know what's even worse is her sending a grievance card to the parents that she took the life of. Yeah, I bet she carried that around with her. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. All right. I'm going to pull this down real quick and show you a little bit of the interrogation, and then I've got to go. We've got more to get into. So hopefully I can get a little bit more into the algorithm. People don't seem to know that they're looking again at her case to try to get her released. You guys, they've got a team of people looking at this. They got 14 experts saying that they got this wrong. We don't want this evil monster out. We don't ever want her out, but we want everyone to know about her. And I definitely want to get this in the algorithm so I can do a part 2 on this. All right, let's listen to her for a little bit. Let's see let's see if we can hear this one. This one is a little bit longer. I've got subtitles in here. 1st July, more than 2 years after the final baby. This is her interview. I don't know why they call it interview rather than interrogation, but let's.
Hugh was allegedly attacked. She was then arrested twice more. The first time almost a year later in June 2019.
That's crazy.
And finally again in November 2020.
And when she was arrested on those 3 occasions, she was questioned extensively about the allegations relating to all 17 babies in the case. In all, the jury were told she was interviewed 30 times. So in this police interview, the detective questioned her about
Hey,
this
my
card.
love,
She
my
said
Leo
she kept
twin.
a photograph of it on her phone because she wanted to remember
See?
the kind words that she'd written to baby
Yeah.
Iris.
She
And
wanted
she
her
also insisted
trophy.
she routinely took pictures of cards, such as birthday cards, that she sent to people.
Can you explain, Lucy, what that is?
Yeah, I sent a sympathy card to the parents because I wasn't able to attend the
Thank you,
funeral.
my love. I
Okay,
appreciate you.
is this normal practice, Lucy?
No, well, it's not very often that we would get to know a family as well as we did with baby I.
There it is.
Okay, is there a reason
I
why you
hate
didn't
her,
go
you
to the
guys.
funeral?
I was working. I wasn't able to change my shift. It was suggested that I could send a card via one of the other nurses who was going.
I hate
Have
her.
you sent cards to other parents before, Lucy?
No.
That's the only one you've ever sent?
Trophies. Trophies.
Why did you take photographs of it on your phone?
To remember what I had sent to them.
Why did you do that?
I often take pictures of any cards that I have sent, even birthday cards, anything like that.
You're a weirdo.
I often take pictures of them.
Did you forward these photographs onto anyone?
Not that I remember, no.
Why did you want to remember what you wrote to them, Lucy?
It was upsetting losing baby I, and I think it was nice to remember the kind words that I'd hoped I'd shared with that family.
Yeah,
and
no.
as I say, I usually photograph any birthday cards that I send, anything like that. That's what I usually would do.
In the police interview, Lucy Letby was asked about their deaths, and she became tearful and started crying.
Yeah,
she told
right.
police it was just devastating for us all.
But she was also questioned about that comment and about her behaviour after his death.
You might remember one of the doctors on duty that.
All right, you guys, thank Sharon Belko for the 5 Guilty of Crime memberships. Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate you. And for the coffee fund. I just refilled my Starbucks today. You know how it goes in increments of 25. So I appreciate you for the memberships and the coffee. Thank you so much, my Leo twin, Sharon. All right, that is her right there. And these are the documented words that she was talking about. A lot of things, this is in the UK, so many things didn't get on film. I will dig up more now that I know what's happening in this case. And Gemini Queen, you're very welcome. Yeah, thank you, Sharon, to everybody.
That day
From
told
everybody.
jurors Lucy Letby made what was called an absolutely shocking comment about baby P. while they were waiting for the transport team to arrive to take him to another hospital.
Man.
The female doctor, who can't be named for legal reasons, but who we've been referring to as Dr. B, claimed Lucy Letby said, "He's not leaving here alive, is he?" And police asked her about this.
Do you recall saying this comment?
No, I don't.
Of course you
I
don't.
don't know why I would have a conversation about a baby not leaving the unit unless they were very sick at the time.
Why did you think that baby P would not leave the NNU alive?
I was
Well,
gonna
I don't
inject
recall
him.
saying that, unless it was at the point where he was physically ill.
Do you remember any occasion when you thought that he wouldn't be leaving alive?
Once he started to deteriorate, yes.
But police also asked Lucy Letby whether she thought there was anything they ought to look at as part of their investigation.
She told them staffing levels at the unit were poor at times because several nurses were on
No
long-term
way.
sick.
No
the
way.
unit also had a lot of new starters who were inexperienced, she said.
She told the police that nurses like herself were doing a lot of extra shifts, often at short notice, and people were feeling a physical and emotional strain. She also said the unit was cramped and staff didn't always have the equipment they needed.
Although she admitted a lack of...
Do any of you guys believe that whatsoever at all? And if so, she still needs to be held accountable, because we have a lot more to cover that we're not going to get to today. There's a lot more interviews with new people. There's a whole episode on her personality and the traits that she has that would contribute to something like this. My God, I don't even know why people like this exist. It's disgusting.
Equipment would not be responsible for any of the baby's collapses. Here's the detective asking questions again.
So do you think any of these deaths and collapses occurred due to poor care?
I don't think anybody intentionally gave poor care, but I think maybe if staffing had been better, people may not have been caring for as many babies at once.
Maybe
or would
that's
have had
why.
different shift
Maybe she
patterns,
was mad.
maybe. Or the doctors would have been more readily available.
And what about equipment? Do you think any of these babies had collapsed or died because of lack of equipment?
I think there's been delays with them having some of the support they need because we've had to go and get equipment, yes.
Would any of the lack of equipment or staff cause the collapse of a baby, the initial collapse?
No, I don't think it would cause the collapse, no.
The babies we've been speaking about over the last few days, we are saying aren't just unexpected, but suspicious.
Right?
Do you understand that?
Yes.
In general terms, the investigation is looking to a number of deaths between 2015 and 2016, and other babies who have collapsed and survived. So our direct question is, between those dates and that amount of babies, have you done anything to intentionally harm those babies?
No.
So another area the police interviews focused on were the exhibits. These were the raft of medical documents and handwritten notes discovered at Lucy Letby's home when she was arrested.
So there wasn't just one or two handover sheets. The jury was told that
There
more
was a
than
whole bunch.
250 were recovered from her home and from her parents' home.
And the police wanted to know why she'd taken them home because these documents are confidential and
Right.
shouldn't be removed from the ward.
You get in trouble
She told
just for
detectives
that.
she must have taken them home by mistake in the pocket of her scrubs.
Another of the exhibits which the prosecution say is significant is a green post-it note, which was found inside Lucy Letby's diary.
It's the note which included the phrases, "I am evil, I did this. Overwhelming fear, panic. I will never have children or marry or know what it's like to have a family."
And
Yes,
just to
she
remind
did.
you again, this is the note which Lucy
Yes.
Letby's barrister, Ben Myers KC, insisted was not a confession. He said it had been written when Lucy Letby was in a state of anguish and despair after she realised she was being accused of killing newborn babies that she'd done her best to look after. But the police wanted to know more about why she'd written this note.
She told police she'd written it around July 2016 after being moved from the unit into a desk job at the hospital. At the time, she said she was depressed because she'd lost everything. She said she'd been banned from talking to her colleagues and felt isolated and suicidal.
I just wrote it because everything had got on top of me. It was when I'd not long found out I'd been removed from the unit, and they were telling me my practice might be wrong, that I needed to read all my competencies. My practice might not have been good enough. So I felt like people were blaming my practice, that I
Oh,
might
you
have hurt
were.
them without knowing through my practice, and that made me feel guilty, and I just felt really isolated.
Do you want to elaborate on some of the things you put down in there?
I was blaming myself, but not because I'd done something, because of the way people were making me feel. I'd only ever done my best for those babies, and then people were trying to say that my practice wasn't good, and that I'd done something, and I just couldn't cope, and I just did not want to be here anymore.
Not good enough. You've written and underlined it.
Because I felt like I was good enough, that
How do
people
you
were trying to
back out of
suggest that I
that?
hadn't been good enough for them.
What people were they?
The trust and the staff on the unit.
And what sort of things were they saying?
just that I'd been there for a lot of the deaths and they were going to review all my.
Yeah, you know, that was oh
Lucy Letby
no.
was arrested 3
That
times.
was part of it.
First
Hold
in
on.
July 2018.
I didn't mean to do that. I totally just messed that up. That was part of it that I recall, that there was a doctor on staff, but yeah, I think you're right. Unless I'm confusing it and you're confusing it with another one. I think that was part of it, but they never really got a motive. I think they tried to put that in there though. Yeah, I don't know how you get out of this.
And banning contact. I didn't know how it was going to go. I didn't think they'd find that I'd been incompetent, but I was worried that they might try and assume that I had been, just because I was there for all of these babies.
She was also asked about more phrases written on the note, including, "I killed them on purpose because I'm not good enough. I'm a horrible, evil person."
She denied deliberately harming the babies, but insisted at that time, in July 2016, she was doubting her professional ability as a nurse. This is what she told the officer.
I didn't kill them on purpose. I felt if my practice hadn't been right, then I'd killed them, and that was why I wasn't good enough.
In what way do you think your practice might have been the reason why these babies have died?
I didn't know. I thought maybe I'd missed something. Maybe I hadn't acted quickly enough.
Give us an example.
I hadn't played my role in the team. I've been in a lot of night shifts. When doctors aren't around, we have to call them. There are less people, and it just worried me that I hadn't called them quick enough.
And you felt evil?
Other people would perceive me as being evil, yes, if I had missed something.
I am a horrible, evil person. That's your take on you?
It's how the situation made me feel.
You've put down there, Lucy. Killed them on purpose.
I didn't kill them on purpose.
Do you believe that there's a potential that you caused their deaths?
Not intentionally.
You say in capital letters, I'm evil. I did this.
That's
right. And okay, so you're right. You know, that is, they did try to put that in there, and welcome Rachel. They don't have a yeah, I just saw that, Brie. Or I just dug that up. It was, they did call her that for a while, the nurse that had a crush on a doctor, and because she had a crush on a doctor, they suspected her of that. That's so crazy. Like, this has so many twists and turns. I want to get into her personality as well, because that's what I did with Dr. Grande. He has a couple of videos, actually. There's a lot of people and friends. Yeah, this was in her journal. This was her stuff. It says, "I'm evil." Thank you, Woods Whisperer. Yeah, so there's this part of it, which we're gonna have to come back to, because I didn't even think we'd get into an hour and 36. So let me just show you that, and then we will I will do a part 2, because we're barely touching the surface of this, and I didn't realize so many people didn't know about this. So, yeah, they did say the doctor secured Lucy Letby hospital placement while she was suspected of red rum. Register, who exchanged more than 1,000 messages with nurse, tells Public Inquiry he believes he was misled. Now, this article we're going to get into, I'll read it quickly to you, but it does say there's a whole like documented series on, it says nurse Lucy Letby killed babies because she had a crush on a doctor. Now, I don't think that's necessarily the reason why, but it's a good motive if you want to get one. Yeah, we're going to do her personality. Absolutely. I was going to get into that today, but so many people hadn't heard of it. I didn't want to just go on and on about it. So, a doctor who exchanged more than 1,000 inappropriate and frivolous Facebook messages with Lucy Letby secured her placement at another hospital. Why they suspected of taking the baby's lives. A public inquiry has been heard. The registrar, who can only be named as Dr. Yu, said that she had supported the nurse because she was struggling with her mental health. So there you go, guys. There's big thing, mental health. We saw those notes, but that he now believed he had been misled and maybe manipulated. Giving evidence to, there's so much evidence, by the way. Thirlwall inquiry on Monday, Dr. Yu said he wasn't aware of the full clinical picture. When he began messaging the nurse in June 2016, which is after she had gone on the year-long spree, a year after she had murdered her first newborn at the Countess Chester Hospital. By this time, the senior doctors openly suspected Letby, now 34, or then, was harming babies and had demanded they remove her. This is kind of what we already went over, but counsel to the inquiry, Dr. Yu exchanged 1,355 Facebook messages from 2016, spanning from just conversations to entirely inappropriate discussions about newborn patients. So this is a big key piece of evidence. Asked to explain messages, the registrar said Letby was struggling with her mental health, and I think I picked up on that and offered her support. The support, it grew, and I understand she slept very poorly because of worry and anxiety. There were often messages that were passed through the day and sometimes late at night and earlier in the morning. In one message, after Letby was removed from the neonatal in July 2016, Dr. Yu told her, "You're still the best neonatal unit nurse I've ever worked with." In another, he wrote, "If anyone says anything about you not being a good enough performing adequately, I want you to promise me that you give details to provide a statement." The public inquiry was told that Dr. Yu provided Letby with confidential information about the investigating efforts, you guys, of unusual and unexpected deaths of the neonatal after she was removed in July 2016. Now, Dr. Yu said he wanted to reassure her at the time, but now he believed it was a massive mistake. Of course, the most hated woman in the UK, right? Now you made a mistake. So he says in hindsight, he didn't believe the messages were appropriate, that the parents of the babies involved would find them very upsetting. He says he's reflected on this daily since then, and certainly since the first police interviews in January 2018. And he says, I think I've become more aware that I wasn't aware of the full clinical picture. I provided support by being misled and maybe manipulated. And for that, I'm really sorry. All right. So the inquiry told Dr. Yu that Dr. Yu had secured Letby a placement at another hospital in January 2017, 6 months after she had been moved from frontline nursing to clerical role, right? She was at a desk. So the inquiry heard a statement on behalf of the hospital, which cannot be identified for legal reasons. And remember, they might go back to trial again, you guys. So in that statement, a hospital executive told Dr. Yu's request on Letby's behalf was informal in nature, and the senior managers had been unaware. Therefore, no inquiries had been made. Now, this was a year long. So during her first criminal trial, and this must be they said last year. So this article was in 2024, right? So this is all new information, newer and new information. The inquiry told last month that the mother of one of Letby's victims, child N, again, you guys, it's baby N, baby K, baby O, had submitted a formal complaint about Dr. Yu for discussing her infant son's conditions on Facebook. I hope that doctor got in trouble. She said the doctor showed disregard for blatant breaches of patient confidentiality. Now, the mother said she lodged the complaint last year, so that's 2023, with the pals at the hospital where the doctor now works. She has yet to be told of any outcome. The inquiry that she told Letby serving a whole life prison term after being found guilty of taking 7 babies and attempting to also take 7 more babies. All right, so that's good news that she's locked up, everybody. And yeah, there's a lot to get into with her mental health. I mean, mental health is one thing, being evil is a whole other, having trophies is another, and then having a crush on a doctor and doing it, I don't think so. I remember that being brought into it, but I'm not gonna go with that. Yeah, Melanie, where's Melanie Copeland been? My girl. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody that subscribed, got a membership, or donated to the channel today. We're gonna definitely do a part 2. Foxy Amazon and Gracie, that bitch just arrested for twerking on her patients, right? I saw that. It was a nurse that twerked on her patient that was incapacitated. That's insane, man. Hello, against all logic. Welcome in and welcome out. You guys go back and do the rewatch crew, because we're going to do a part 2, and I want you to all be caught up. Tomorrow we'll be back at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you're doing Valentine's Day, stop at 4 o'clock. Come on in. Now, Garth says she is Maria Henley's sister. Not sure who that is. Fuerte Fitnesses can't trust nobody. All right, you guys come back tomorrow. We're going to do the Colin Griffith case. He took the life of his father, then his mother, and he walked out of court a free man, you guys. A free man. He took the life of both parents, and then he's not guilty. He's out there roaming the streets, everybody. There's another Dexter. There's another serial killer in the making, you guys. We got to do something about this, and we need people to know who he is so your daughters don't go and date this man, right? Thank you. I appreciate you. Come back tomorrow. Dude took his parents' lives. Gotta not guilty. We're going to get into all that. If you don't know what he did to his father, you're going to find out tomorrow. All right? Love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Yes, watch out, Grammy. We're also going to get into that. His grandma, I believe, was a key piece of evidence that got him off. Watch out, Grammy. You're absolutely right. All right. Good night, y'all. Love you. Happy Valentine's Day. I'll see you actually on Valentine's Day tomorrow.
Guilty of crime. I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime. Are you guilty of crime?